Hello and welcome back to my channel. After months of trying to call for a ceasefire between the Israel-Hamas war, finally, Chicago becomes the first major city to call for a ceasefire. Go on and hit the subscribe button if you don't want to be missing on our interesting topics and videos. Give this video a thumbs up by simply tapping on the like button. And of course, don't forget to be part of the conversation by simply sharing your thoughts in the comment section down below. Now, after weeks of delays and debates, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson cast the tie, breaking vote for a deadlocked city council on Wednesday to pass a resolution calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. Now, Chicago is now the largest U.S. municipality to urge President Biden to support a ceasefire, putting the Democratic National Convention host city at odds with the administration's stance on the conflict and signaling growing discontent in the country. Here are the videos as different people celebrate this news. I will be right back with more details to this story.
Hi, it's Newt with Code Pink, and I'm here outside Chicago City Hall because today the Chicago City Council made history by being the first major city in the U.S. to pass a ceasefire resolution. After weeks of advocating here in the Chicago City Council, of getting kicked out, of being censored, of some of our Palestinian organizers and their allies losing their jobs over their advocacy for Palestine, today Chicago made a statement and said that they stand with Palestine, and they, regardless of whether or not our federal government continues to send funds and weapons to Israel to continue on Gaza, today Chicago stood against that and said that we will not, and we stand with the people of Palestine.
Chicago City Council meeting today, 23 aldermen voted in favor of passing a resolution calling for a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas in the Israel and Hamas war. 23 voted against passing the resolution and 4 abstained, meaning that it all came down to the tie-breaking vote held by Mayor Brandon Johnson, who voted in favor of passing the resolution, making Chicago the first big American city to call for a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas in the Israel and Hamas war, which began on October 7th when Hamas attacked Israel. Now, some people, myself included, were surprised that this vote got so close. My thinking is it's a pretty progressive body, and right now the mainstream progressive thought is to pretty much call for a ceasefire pretty much unanimously, according to what I've read in other media sources. Some people are also wondering what impact this will actually have in making it so that there is a ceasefire. That is also a good question. That is not what this TikTok's about. TikTok is about this breaking news, which from today's city council meeting on Wednesday, the ceasefire resolution did pass through the tie-breaking vote provided by Mayor Brandon Johnson. Let me know what you think in the comments.
Hi everyone, I'm Danica, the co-director of Code Pink, but more importantly, I am a Chicagoan. And today Chicago became the largest city in the United States to pass a ceasefire resolution in our city council. And before people start saying, Chicago's a liberal city, of course it passed. It was destined to pass. It wasn't. The vote was tied at 23 for and 23 against, and the mayor, Brandon Johnson, had to break the tie in favor of the ceasefire resolution. Passing ceasefire resolutions in our cities is important for the purpose of amplifying public opinion. A majority of people in the United States want a ceasefire, a vast majority. So the third largest city in the United States of America calling for a ceasefire does mean something to people in power. At least it signals something to the people in power. But here are some things I noticed at today's city council meeting that I think are important for any city that wants to pass a ceasefire resolution. It was a close vote, so we needed every single vote that we got. And there were multiple instances of aldermen saying publicly, like, I wouldn't be able to get away with it if I voted against the ceasefire resolutions. My constituents would not allow it. One of the most important yes votes that we got today said that she didn't really agree with a lot of the language or some of the language in the ceasefire resolution, but she had to vote yes on it. So organizers in Chicago worked tirelessly for the last few weeks to make sure the ceasefire resolution passed. And the pro-Israel people were working not as hard as us, I guess. And it feels really good to see them lose for once. It really does.
And we got outworked, so they beat us.
Oh, really?
It's going to pass.
Yeah, I know. I found a little spot.
I know you're with us, Bennett, but unfortunately we're going to lose, so.
The biggest advocate against the ceasefire resolution got up there and spewed a bunch of the same pro-Israel lies we've been hearing since October 7th. And another alderman got up there and said, actually, like, let's be serious. 30,000 people. All you're doing is trying to justify each one of theirs with lies. And our constituents aren't buying it. Your constituents aren't buying it. And it's not politically expedient to vote against a ceasefire because it's ridiculous. And the people of Chicago have made sure that their politicians know it's ridiculous. So Chicago had some of the strongest pro-Palestine organizing I've ever seen in my life. Kudos, shout out to everyone in Chicago. And today, so many city council members mentioned something along the lines of, I have to do this because my constituents won't stop calling me about it. Organizers made it abundantly clear. If you ignore us, and if you try and justify it in city council, we will absolutely remember in a few years that you got in front of all of us and tried to justify it.
You guys, we did it! We did it, Queenie! We did it! Chicago is officially the first major city to call for a ceasefire resolution, and I wish I was there right now. I wish I was there feeling the energy of everyone there. I wish I could be there, but I am so proud of every single person who called their representatives, who harassed their representatives, who came to every protest, who went to even one protest. You know, do what you can, but show up, because thousands of people heard, almost 30,000 people have heard, and people are saying the ICJ ruling did nothing to Israel. They are just continuing their guide. So please keep calling your representatives. Share what you see. We all know how long people have been waiting for something like this to happen, and Chicago being the first major city to call for a ceasefire. Wow, just wow, guys. People are excited because Chicago City Council narrowly approved a resolution Wednesday calling for a permanent ceasefire in the war between Israel and Hamas, with Mayor Brandon Johnson casting tie-breaking vote. Now, the symbolic declaration in the nation's third largest city follows weeks of public meetings with disruptions from demonstrators, including on Wednesday when things became so boisterous the first day mayor had to temporarily clear the council chambers. Now, the resolution approved 24-23 includes a call for humanitarian aid and the release of all hostages. Supporters in the chambers include the Rev. Jace Jackson, and Chicago is the last, making Chicago the latest U.S. city to approve such a non-binding resolution, following Atlanta, Detroit, and San Francisco in recent months. Now, this war began with Hamas attacking Israel on October 7th, unaliving about 1,200 people and taking about 250 hostages. Since then, Israeli strikes have unalived more than 26,000 Palestinians and displaced nearly 2 million others from their homes. We have seen how hostile this war has been ever since the 7th of October, and really, a ceasefire was really needed. Now, with Mayor Brandon Johnson casting the tie-breaking vote, the debate was so heated, Johnson cleared the public gallery after repeated interruptions from protesters, just as he did in October during a contentious vote on a resolution condemning the Hamas surprise attack that sparked the war. Now, with the vote among orders 23-23, Johnson's approval was needed to pass this resolution, which makes Chicago the largest city in the nation to pass a Gaza ceasefire resolution, joining the race. Now, critics of the resolution said it doesn't sufficiently lay out the depths of violence committed by Hamas or plans to prevent them from committing another deadly attack against Israel. The measure has been the subject of heated debate in public and private for weeks, both within the council's ranks and among the general public. Now, Chicago has one of the largest Jewish populations in the U.S., and Cook County has one of the largest Palestinian populations in the nation. After a full city council vote last week was delayed, sponsors of the resolution spent the past week tweaking its language in an effort to gain more support from their colleagues. The chief sponsor of the resolution said while she agrees the city has many issues the city council needs to address, she believes it's the right thing for them to also take time to weigh in on the situation in Gaza. If we're committed to peace and liberation, we have to be committed to peace and liberation for all oppressed people. We can continue to work on caring for all of our neighbors and also make space to tend to our communities at a moment of such intense pain and devastation. We need to add our voice to the growing number of people demanding peace, she said. Now, the final version of the resolution calls for a permanent ceasefire in Gaza, the immediate and unconditional release of all hostages, and humanitarian assistance, including medicine, food, and water, to be sent into the war-torn region. It also calls for the creation of plans to protect civilians in the region. Hundreds of activists, largely pro-Palestinian groups, packed City Hall during the meeting, filling the first floor lobby as the public gallery upstairs filled to capacity. Now, Deborah Silver Silverstein, 50th, the only Jewish member of the city council who has laid opposition to the ceasefire resolution, has said the resolution should have included clear references to the atrocities committed by Hamas in a surprise attack on Israel last October, which set off the ongoing war. The resolution you're being asked to consider is not a compromise, she said. We all want an end to that shade and an end to the war, but it is vital to understand what caused the conflict, and we should pass a resolution that addresses the issue responsibly. Hamas has been clear they want to continue to attack Israel, and we have seen that. Now, we should not pass a resolution unless it makes clear that Hamas cannot and should not attack again. This resolution fails to do that. Now, Mayor Brandon Johnson ordered the public gallery of the city council chamber cleared after pro-ceasefire activists repeatedly geared and interrupted Silverstein. One of those activists shouted out, "Wadi was unalive because of your lies," an apparent reference to the unaliving of a 6-year-old in what police and prosecutors have said was an anti-Palestinian hate crime. Now, as police officers cleared out the chamber, pro-Palestinian activists chanted "ceasefire now." Debate resumed only after an hour-long recess, as spectators who were forced to leave the second-floor gallery were allowed to move up to the third-floor balcony, but only after going through a second security screening. Now, one of the co-sponsors of the resolution said that the supporters of the ceasefire resolution not only condemned the Israeli military's B of Gaza and the unalivings of tens of thousands of Palestinian civilians, but the Hamas attack against Israel that started the war. This ceasefire is the path out of that violence. Do I believe that the words that we speak today, how we vote today, influences directly international policy? I don't have those illusions, but we vote with hope. We vote with solidarity. We vote to help people feel heard in a world of silence, he said. But Silverstein argued the resolution fails to acknowledge Hamas' culpability in civilian unalivings in Gaza. Hamas embedded its terrorist infrastructure around Gaza's civilian population. It builds tunnels under hospitals and fires arrows from mosques. And Hamas uses the Gazan people as human shield. But this resolution does not call for them to stop doing that, she said. Do you think this call for a ceasefire by Chicago is going to encourage others to call for a halt on the Israel-Hamas war as well? Feel free to share what you think in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and see you in my next video.